Es importante de no quemar el cacao, es decir, mejor que esté poco tostado.
Hey guys, welcome to Finding Yugen. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ryan, and this channel is all about responsible traveling while on a budget. And speaking of responsible traveling, I thought today I'd bring you guys 5 things responsible traveling is and 5 things responsible traveling isn't. Now this is going to be part 1 of a 2-part series, so if you think I missed any major points today, just stay tuned for the next video. But before we dive in, what exactly is responsible traveling? Well, I think Charlie on Travel put it best when she said that sustainable travel means finding a way that tourism can be maintained long term without harming natural and cultural environments. Sustainable travel should minimize the negative impact of tourism and ideally be beneficial to the area in which it takes place. So that definition is going to lead me directly into my first point, which is to borrow once again from Charlie on Travel, sustainable travel is actually a 3-pillar system consisting of environmental, economic, and social pillars. Usually when people think sustainability, they think of eco-friendly and green, which is all fine and dandy, but it's really important to also consider its social and economic factors. And here's a quick breakdown of the 3 pillars as described by Charlie and Luke. The environmental pillar focuses on reducing negative impacts on the environment and wildlife from traveling. The social pillar is about our impact on local people and communities. And for sustainable travel, the economic pillar refers to using our money to positively contribute to the local economy. Now over the course of these next 2 videos, you guys will see that each of the points that I cover directly relates to one of these 3 pillars. Speaking of which, let's move on to our next point. Now I'm sure we all know by now how harmful plastics can be to the environment. Although plastics can be used to make really convenient tools for us, they can ruin ecosystems when they're not disposed of properly. Some plastics can take over 400 years to decompose, and according to National Geographic, 91% of the world's plastic is not recycled, with most of our plastic waste being single-use items. 79% of the world's plastic ends up in landfills or in our environment, which eventually leads into the oceans. So as you can see, plastic is a huge problem, but it isn't the only one. According to Sustainable Travel International, in some places, tourists can account for double the amount of waste than the residents who live there. As waste becomes too difficult to manage, most of it isn't properly disposed of, which hurts the local quality of life, the environment, and also the overall aesthetic of the destination. Not to mention the waste that is properly disposed of usually overflows landfills and sewage systems. If you can, try to avoid waste in any form, especially that of single-use items. If you are going out, try going prepared with your own water bottle and try to avoid ordering food that you know you can't finish. You can also bring your own snacks in Tupperware containers to avoid having to dispose of food packaging. Although we all love to think of the world as ours to roam and conquer, we do need to realize that the places that we are going are homes. That being said, it's important to look into the common cultural norms and practices of locals so that you'll know how to behave once you're there. Remember that as a guest to someone's home, you not only leave an impression of yourself, but oftentimes of the country that you're coming from as well. One of my personal embarrassing stories is when I first went to study abroad in Japan. I was shown to my room by a student that would eventually become one of my best friends, but he opens the door, I walk right into the room, and I turn around and his face is red, and he looks at me and he goes, "Do people not take off their shoes in the United States?" And I was just, when I'm at my own house in the United States, I take off my shoes, but I didn't even think about it, and for some reason I wasn't aware that it was actually that important. So just make sure that you guys look into cultural norms so you don't have to run into situations like that. Something else that's really important is that sustainable traveling is about respecting cultural practices, even if there's something unlike your own. It's important to not see different cultural practices as backwards or somehow below your own just because they're different. Remember that more than just a source of entertainment or maybe a new experience for us, cultural practices are a way of life for people, so it's important to show them proper respect. At face value, my situation with the shoes, I could have just laughed them off or not taken them seriously, but in reality, it's an important cultural practice that I should have known beforehand. I'm sure many times we'll find locals who are lighthearted and might laugh at us for not knowing cultural norms, but that might not always be the case, so it's important to be at least mildly prepared. The world should be our place to explore, but we also shouldn't be making excuses for mistakes in behavior just because we're foreigners. Supporting local businesses is by far my favorite part of responsible traveling. Not only can you guys support the local economy, but you can also learn a lot about the culture of the place you're visiting. Whether it's having okonomiyaki in a small hole-in-the-wall restaurant in Fukuoka, or supporting an organic chocolate-making craftsman in Ecuador.
Oh, it smells so good. Woo.
Es importante no quemar el cacao, es decir, mejor que esté poco tostado.
There is so much you can learn about the world just by supporting local businesses. And I've only mentioned food. You guys can go on local tours, go to local artisans to get souvenirs, or go to local supermarkets. It's by far one of the best ways to experience a local culture while also giving back to the local community at the same time. That being said, it is okay to dwell on the side of comfort and indulge in name brand shopping every once in a while. I would be lying if I said I never stopped at a Starbucks while I was on my travels. Just try to support more local businesses than name brands, because not only are you giving to the local economy, but you'll also get a lot out of the experience. I understand responsible traveling can be a big change for people who've never tried it, and finding the most sustainable option isn't always possible. When I just started becoming more aware as a traveler, I tried to keep a ratio of at least 1-to-1. So if I did something that wasn't so sustainable, I tried to make up for it by doing something that was. With this advice in mind, it's important to not just turn to unsustainable practices for convenience, thinking that you can just make up for it later. This is a change you want to make in your habits, and the only way to make a change is to continue to work at it. As you become more experienced, you can increase the number of sustainable practices, because remember, we're not just trying to nullify our not so sustainable practices, we actually want to benefit the community some way. Alright guys, and there's the first 5 points of what responsible traveling is and what responsible traveling isn't. If you like this video, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and be ready for part 2 coming next week. I'll see you guys later.